Hi there. We're right on the verge of the premiere of the second Game of Thrones spin-off series, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So I want to quickly go over some of the notes I took on what the new showrunner said about their overall approach to the series. And to start with, in this one, this is aimed at TV-only viewers. Yes, this is a short TV series. But relative to the short source material, it's plenty long as it needs to be. And the showrunner and Martin and everyone else associated with this said the same thing. Now, I went to the first big launch panel for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms at New York Comic Con back in the first week of October. I had a wonderful time. The staff was really nice. I managed to get a content badge at the last minute so I could actually go to all of these things. And I took notes on everything the showrunner and everyone else said at the panel, and also on the accompanying interviews that they do those in the press booth. They put them out later, same day. So I have all these notes on this, and then I wasn't able to report on it because all of this industry news suddenly piled up, and other stuff going on with House of the Dragon, all these other things. So I've condensed this into a set of 4 quick videos that I'm posting the day of Sunday afternoon leading up to the premiere, when hopefully more people are tuning in for this. So my hope is this is a pre-game special. That, okay, it's late, well, at least it gets to be the Sunday afternoon pre-game special leading up to the Super Bowl, you know? So I had like 24 different points. I condensed them into 4 thematic videos, and these are the big things we learned from their pre-show interviews about what is their general approach to everything. The first and most obvious place to start is how short it is. That a few weeks ago, when the episode count and runtimes were first revealed, we saw a lot of knee-jerk complaints on social media from people who had no idea what it was based on. What? It's only 6 episodes and averaging half an hour each? Well, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms isn't based on a full-length novel. As they do say in on-screen text in the trailers, it's based on a short novella. And depending on the version you have, the novella Season 1 is based on is a little over 100 pages. Compare that to the first full Game of Thrones novel, which, depending on the edition you have, is around 800 pages. So for the A Song of Ice and Fire fan channels on YouTube and elsewhere, as this has been in production for the past 2 years, as we were analyzing any news that came out, that was one of our biggest questions. This is all we've been talking about. How the heck could they possibly make full-hour episodes from this? Even 6 episodes, but at a full hour each, seemed way too much. That they'd have to invent a lot of filler, a lot of padding, and frankly, we were starting to get kind of nervous that they might do a disservice to all of this. And I know, of course, streaming platforms have been slashing episode counts the past few years, and that left a bad taste in everyone's mouths, but that simply doesn't apply here. It's based on a short novella. That every fan channel I know of on YouTube and other websites, everyone I know who is familiar with and has read the source material, universal reaction was a sigh of relief, this wave of relief, when we heard how short the runtime will actually be. This is more than we need. Now, the specific runtimes for all 6 episodes have been released. Episode 1 is a bit longer. Episode 1 is 42 minutes. Episode 2, 33 minutes. Then 31 minutes. Episode 4 is 34 minutes. Episode 5 slightly longer at 37 minutes. And Episode 5 is when the big climactic trial of 7, trial by combat happens. That's the big action episode, is Episode 5, 37 minutes. And then Episode 6 is the epilogue to that, resolving all the plot threads at 31 minutes. I'm wondering what the reaction is going to be from general channels that maybe having a 50% longer at 45 minutes, 42 minutes first episode will soften the blow. I wonder if people will be remarking, wow, this is a bit short, and don't realize it's a half-hour show. This is an extra-sized premiere episode. Well, adding these runtimes up, we get 208 minutes. Give or take a bit, of course, due to this is including the end credits, but don't they always? 208 minutes is 3 hours, 28 minutes. The audiobook of the novella itself is almost 3 hours exactly. Just roughly in there, depending on the narrator they use for it. And they said they extended a few scenes here and there, so they had time left over, that nothing was cut for time reasons. Maybe a thing was shifted around for pacing reasons and such. Time had nothing to do with it. They had time left over to add things. And at 3.5 hours, it's roughly as long as the theatrical cut of Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Maybe 10 minutes longer than that, plus Return of the King had long end credits, but in that region. And yeah, I know the extended editions are the definitive versions, but my point is that 3.5 hour runtime could plausibly have been a very long theatrically released movie. Anything above that approaching 4 hours, I wouldn't say that's not movie length, but 3.5. Increasingly these days, the lines are blurring between movies and streaming TV shows. I mean, there are Netflix original movies that aren't released in theaters, or there are movies that get brief token releases in physical theaters, but that's a prestige thing, that they're primarily focused on we're looking towards the streaming release 2 or 3 weeks later. Everyone thinks this is as long as it needs to be. And the big point of this video is that Martin himself thought it was as long as it needed to be. And at the New York Comic Con panel and the interviews surrounding it, the new showrunner, Ira Parker, he revealed in passing that, yeah, Martin was actually pushing to do this as a movie. Well, I don't think they were arguing. I think it was just more of a debate, discussion with HBO. It kind of makes more sense to do this as a full movie. Maybe with a theatrical release, maybe not, maybe as a TV movie, but he sees it as just one 3.5 hour chunk. And I lean more towards that, and maybe you could go, well, you build up more word of mouth for it if it has episodic releases, but it's really meant to be viewed in one sitting. But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, that, yeah, this is short enough. We go, oh, this is such a short TV season. There was serious discussion about whether to do it as just a really long movie. That's the scale we're talking about here, and anyone who has read the novella agrees. It's like this 90-page novella. It might work better as a long movie. Another point reinforcing this are other comments that new showrunner Ira Parker gave about how he came to be in charge of the new project. And he talked about this in the New York Comic Con interviews, that he didn't really have to apply to run this. He was handpicked by Ryan Condal to run the Dunk and Egg TV series. So as he describes it, I literally got a phone call one night from the head of HBO Drama going, hey, you want to run the Dunk and Egg show? But this is important because, as he explained, because he didn't have to apply for it, he never had to put together a pitch package for it. A back and forth with the HBO execs about how long it would be. And in his own words, he was panicking at how he could possibly make a pitch that stretched this out, this 100-page novella, into a 10 or even 8-hour TV series. That's insane. And he was really freaking out about it. Now keep in mind, when this happened, this was the start of 2023. This is before House of the Dragon Season 2 got slashed to 8 episodes. But even 6 hours of content is far too much for this. So, as he said, with 8 to 10 hours even, he said, I thought I'd have to pitch it as doing the 3 current novellas all in one 10-hour TV season. And even then, padding out, I'm guessing, like half of it. He said, I would have had to heavily pad it out with the Blackfire Rebellion, which you see like one flashback to in the final version they're going to talk about later, but it would have basically been two prequels in one. That literally the only way to get a 10-hour show out of this is to basically make 5 hours on Dunk and Egg and 5 hours of flashbacks to the Blackfire Rebellion, which isn't fair to either of them. Blackfire Rebellion should really be its own spin-off in the upcoming Phase 2 or 3 or something, phases in the cinematic universe. But just, I feel for him, the way he said there are videos of this, just how the heck am I going to pitch a full hour episode? Is going to have to work in Blackfire Rebellion stuff? It isn't that kind of thing. And then he walked into the room, and the first thing they said was, this isn't an application, you're already hired. Like, we already want you to do this, we already have directives in place from Martin, from Condal, from HBO, that, no, this will be a TV show in the 3 to 4 hour range. We are even debating whether to do it as a movie. And just this utter sigh of relief from him. And all of this is to emphasize, no one at any stage in the production pipeline thought this would be 4 hours or more of content with the first novella or adding in other things. That was never even considered. That everyone thinks this is as long as it needs to be, and we're doing a novella per season. And thankfully, since last Tuesday, the block on spoiler-free advance reviews has been lifted. I didn't get screeners myself, but the universal reaction from every review and ones I've asked personally, everywhere I've checked, they said, whatever they thought of it, they said it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like they crammed things in. Reviewers who are familiar with the source material said, no, they didn't cut out anything. I mean, they added things. That the fact that they're half-hour episodes and only 6 of them, that really didn't feel short at all, which is a relief. So I'm worried about, just to leave you with this, what the heck is going to be the reaction by the YouTube live reaction channels. I like checking out, what do they think of the show when they realize this is actually this really short comedy without major battles or dragons in it. But the characters are really likable, it has good thematic content, and it's funny. So I don't know what they're going to think of this, of just, will it purely focus on, wow, look how short this is, and they're not going to give it a second chance? I don't know. We're all really worried about that. But anyone familiar with it, if you're a book reader or anything, no, we're fine. So I do wish it had been maybe 4 hours of content, like if they were all 45-minute episodes, if they could add a scene here or a scene there to round out some more of the secondary characters, like maybe 10 minutes more than we got. Just the difference between 3 hours 28 minutes and 3 hours 40 minutes. They might have spread out to other characters, but they had a directive in place not to do that. But I will discuss that in the second out of 4 pregame videos I'm working on. So please like and subscribe and follow along. I'm going to be putting out a lot of content on this.